Nothing like a good coffee. Last time I showed you the approach that I took to learn how to draw heads, and as I promised, now I'm going to share with you the things that I learned. That is the method that I use now, the theory that I learned to get there, starting with basic perspective, then the skull, the basic shapes that you need to use, proportions, and where to put the facial features. Also, at the end of the video, I'm going to make some examples for you to see how I actually applied all this knowledge that I'm sharing with you here. So make sure to get to the end of the video, okay? And we're starting with perspective, and I don't mean perspective points like 3-point perspective, 2-point perspectives. That's something that you should really know, but we are jumping directly to something else, and that is this, boxes. So the reason why I think boxes are really important when you're studying all this stuff is because you can put anything in a box and it will tell you exactly in which perspective it is. So if you take, for example, a skull, let's imagine that this is inside of the box, and you rotate the box, you can see how the skull is following the box, right? And then you have like these lines of the box that is indicating the perspective of the skull, assuming that it's inside of the box, right? So yeah, without further ado, let's jump directly into this. Let's open Photoshop. So I have prepared for you some pictures that we are going to use as for the exercise, for the reference. So these are the references that we are going to draw in this video. And for that, we're going to use some guidelines. Faces are symmetrical, they're bisymmetrical. You can put a line in the middle of the face and you will have roughly the same thing on both sides, right? That's a vertical guideline that we're going to use, the main one. And then we have some horizontal guidelines. Something that helps really well for establishing the perspective of the head is the lines of the eyebrows, nose, eyes, mouth, chin, forehead. I'm always using the one from the eyebrows, and if you go from one point to the other of the eyebrow, then you get a straight line, right? And that's one of the main reasons why putting the head inside of a box works so well, because you have vertical and horizontal guidelines, right? So that's what we're going to do first. We're going to put those guidelines first. That's the line of the forehead, the hairline. Then we have the line of the eyebrows, line of the nose. And basically, if you find one of those guidelines, then you just have to draw a parallel line to that one in the hairline and in the chin, right? So if you do that, you already have, when you put vertical lines, you already have the box that you need. Like you have one of the faces of the box that you need, right? And we don't have to do perfectly this, right? It's just a guideline for you to put the stuff inside later. So you divide the face in two, like this. And then what we're going to do now, the other line that you need to draw that is parallel to the other ones is the one that is behind of the skull, like this part here. So we're just putting another, in this case is front to a little bit upper view. So you just have to put another one here, parallel to the other two. And since it's a box, what we are seeing is, this is like the frontal view. And then what we're seeing now is like a little bit of tilting, right? We're seeing a little bit of a tilting, so we can basically see this face of the box too, because she's looking a little bit down. Her head is a little bit angled down. So what we're seeing is more or less of, like, we're seeing more of this shape here, and that's basically what we have to do. We're drawing following this perspective guide here, and that's basically it. That's how you put the head inside of a box. So that's the first one. That's all you need to do for knowing the perspective of the head that you want to draw, is just doing this, put it inside of a box. Now for the next one is a profile view. So you're basically, instead of seeing this, the front side, you're seeing the side, the profile side of the box, right? In this case, it's not like you barely see this face of the box, maybe a little bit of a down face, because he's like looking in this angle, he's looking a little bit up, like this. So you basically you can see this side of the head too. So what we're going to do is we just drew a square, not a square, sorry, a rectangle for that plane of the box. Again, we are following that line, those guidelines that we talked about it earlier, a little bit of the mouse. So that means it's a little bit tilted. That's the slight tilt that I mentioned before, that you can see the front side of the head a little bit more, but not too much. So we are following that. Then here, and for the profile view, for like 3/4 profile view, the edges of the face of the box are, you have here, like the front side. That's where the first, like the frontal face of the box ends, and then from here is where it starts the profile side of the box, right? So in this case here from the stereo, we're starting the box here, then more or less, again, it doesn't have to be 100% precise, but what is important is like they're kind of parallel lines. And now, since we're looking like kind of up, we have to angle this a little bit down here, more or less. Then we draw a parallel line to that one, a parallel line to that one here, and then we have like this, more or less. I may have done it a little bit too big. Yeah, more or less like this. So we are now connecting the, oh shit, let's fix that a little bit so you can see it better. That's this little space here that you see below is more or less that downside that you are seeing. It's just to establish it. That's a little bit complicated, but yeah. So now we have like this angle tilt here, this angle for the forehead. Then we have the middle line. Yeah, actually, like more or less like this. And the middle line here, I'm not drawing it because it will be basically something that you barely see because it's in the profile view. So we don't need the middle line for this face, for this side of the box. So here we have like the next one. The next one is, again, is basically the same. Let's just find the line of the eyebrows, which is here, more or less. Then the line of the nose, and then the chin. This is more like 3-point perspective. The lines will not be that parallel anymore. Then we have the one of the forehead here, and then we angle this down here. And because we are seeing the lower side of the head, that's why we're constructing the box like this. And this is like, this will be more or less the middle point of the face. Yeah. So as you can see, it's more or less, again, it's not 100%, you don't have to do it 100% precise. It's a guideline for you. Yeah, so basically more or less like this. And as you see, like always, it will always tell you the perspective of the head. It's like, so it's easier to find the angle of the head if you follow these steps. And then what you can do is just drop the opacity of that layer and then draw on top of that. But you already have like the guideline for that, right? That's how I'm starting with my constructions. I'm always like putting the middle line of the face, then constructing the angles, and then I'm building the sphere inside of the box. So let's do a little bit more of those so you see the rest of them. So eyebrow lines, then it will be parallel to this one. It's only a 2-point perspective. Then we have the middle line here. This will be our parallel here, like right on top of the eyebrow, of the end of the eyebrow. Then we have the other part here. Then again, we are kind of looking down towards the head, towards the photograph. So you have this part here, then that'll be the angle of the other point if you follow this line here. And then you just have to draw the parallels again. And then we just delete the exceeding part of this, and we already have the box that we needed in the angle that we needed. So line for the, in case you need it, like I only needed one line and for knowing the angle of the head, and that was the eyebrows. And after that, I just have to put the line of the forehead, of the hairline and the chin, and that's it. That's how I can make the box already. but in case you might wonder, that's the line of the nose. This will be the line of the mouth, and let's do it, why not? More or less the line of the eyes, and there you go. And if you want to, that will be more or less, no, sorry, here will be more or less the line of the ears. And there you have it. Like, that's how you figure out the perspective of this one. Then let's just do one more. Angle of the eyebrows, center line. Goes to for the center line. I guess I'll start. Yeah, that's the middle point here. It's kind of awkward. Okay, you know what? Since this one is a little bit more confusing, we just do the same. Line of the nose, line of the mouth, and line of the chin. And now we figure out, yeah, like here is more or less the same angle. Here we're looking down, so we're actually seeing more of that plane on top. So when we connect this here, when we follow that line here, you get something like, let's draw the partner. No, that's too messed up. Of course, like sometimes when you're doing this, you have some features that are outside of the box in order just to put the thing on top of it. And most of the time those are like the cheeks, the hair obviously is outside of the box because it's not part of the cranium. But yeah, like you get more or less the perspective that you need, and then you can figure out the rest of the things with the proportion lines and all the stuff. This will be the ear line, and there you have it. So this is basically the first step. So you figure out the perspective and then you draw on top of that. You just draw the opacity and then you start drawing what's the actual shape of the head. And when you do that, sometimes you will go outside of the box. That's normal. Again, these are just guiding lines for you to know in what angle put the features, what angle put the stuff, and in what perspective are you drawing, because perspective is fundamental for anything that you're going to draw. And to practice this thing that I do, if you are having trouble with like perspective and all the stuff, try to draw boxes first in 1 point perspective, and then when you're ready, jump to 2 point perspective, and then when you're ready, when you draw enough of 2 point perspective, then go to 3 point perspective if you want to really do extreme stuff like the third one that we did. That's step 1. Step 2 involves this little body here. We're not going to study it in detail today, but we are going to study the fundamental things that I think you need to know about the cranium for drawing faces, right? So let's jump on top of that. So I have prepared for you some pictures that we are going to use as reference for learning how to draw the skull. And keep in mind, this is not like a must-do every time you have to draw a portrait or a head. You don't have to draw the skull. That's only background knowledge that you have to have in your brain to know what's going on, right? To know what is happening beneath the skin. And I prepared these pictures for you. These are some pictures of my little body here, and we're going to use them as a reference for that. So basically the 4 shapes that we're going to use are the sphere, this oval shape here on the edges. So basically we have the sphere, then we can, let's just divide first the skull into 2 parts. Then we got this line here, in the middle, this line here, remember? We have like the plane of the eyebrows, and then there's like the eye sockets here. And this will be our second shape. Like if you see, this here aligns with the shape of the eye. Then we got this thing. So that will be, it's like 2 planes connected with a line, basically. There are 2 planes connected, and that's our second shape. Then we have the bowl for the teeth here. And then we have this weird shape here, which is the jaw line, which is our jaw, with a little hole here for the connection. And then let's just draw the cheekbone, so we have those there ready. So basically, we need the sphere here. Then we have the folder paper. Then we have the other sphere for the mouth. I'll call it M sphere. And then we have the jaw bone. So I will show you the same in profile view. In profile view it's a little bit different because you have like this, the folder paper that I show you, you basically don't see it that much, but it's like this, because that is just, this plane is just indicating the eye, like how deep the hole for the eye socket is, right? So we're using that just to know basically in which perspective are we washing the eyes and stuff like that. Then we have like the oval for the head, like this, and then the teeth sphere, and then we have like the shape of the jaw connected to the skull, to the rest of the skull. Then we just draw the nose here, nose socket, and the cheekbones with these weird shapes here, which this side here is also really important. You'll see later why. So let's do the 3/4 view, and then we'll do our prop here. We are going to draw we're going to draw some by ourselves. So fold paper. Let's just draw that line here. And I really like this method because the folder paper, one of the cool things it have is like if you look at it in the front view. Let me just delete a little bit of this so you can, yeah, it looks a little bit better. So when you look the folder paper from the frontal view, you have like this weird rhomboid shape, right? But once you start turning the head a little bit more, you start seeing like this folded paper on the angle that you're watching, and that's a really good technique for like watching in which angle like you're drawing the head, and that's why I use it a lot. I really like it. So then we have now here the oval, and then we draw the middle line from that, and now we have like here we have the sphere from the teeth, the middle line for the teeth, and now let's just draw the jaw like this, and now we are going to just make the rest of the features like this, and we draw this side of the bones connected to the cheekbones, and that's basically done. So now let's do some of them by ourselves. Now I just want to make some drawings of these exact pictures so you can see more or less how the shapes can help you to build the skull. And then at the end, when I have all the drawings done, I'll just point you a few landmarks that I think is important that you remember for when we are drawing the skin on top of that, right? I'll speed up the process so it doesn't take that long. But yeah, I'll see you in a couple of minutes. So we're going to leave it like this because the skull is not something that you have to draw every time that you have to draw a head. So you don't have to go detail like on top of that unless you're actually drawing a skeleton or something like that, like in a fantasy game. I'll show you some bony landmarks that you have to pay attention to when you're going to draw a person's face. And the reason why is because they really show up on the skin. You can actually see how it deforms the skin in the skull, and those are not muscles, those are the bones of the cranium, okay? So we're going to move to the reference pictures here. First one is this shape here, where it's like the eyebrows, right? These shapes here. Around the eye socket you have these three landmarks that I really like. And these are like the eyebrow bone here, the bridge of a nose, and then you have the cheekbones here. And around the eyebrows you also have this landmark here, this kind of a line that the bones make. And this is really, really, really useful because it's exactly where you put the line of the first shape of the box when you're trying to figure out the perspective, right? This is where you put the vertical line to put the box in. So this one here, this like skull, and you will see a lot in the, you will see it really often when you're trying to learn head anatomy from other resources like Loomis or Riley. They do this thing here. They like cut off the sphere in one part because our skull is not completely spherical. If I take a sphere and I try to put the skull inside, you see these two parts here go outside of the box. So that's why they cut off, like in those methods, that they cut off that part of the sphere, and you get this line here, which is indicating the cheekbones and the turn and plane of the side of the head. So this is a really important one, I'll say. Also, you have, like we mentioned before, the curvature of the teeth, because you're drawing then the lips on top of that, and they will detect a lot of light and shadow, like when you're putting light and shadow on your drawing. So basically all those bony landmarks that I'm telling you, it's indicating volume on your drawing. And when you are advancing and studying more stuff like shadow and lights and how to indicate volume to make it more 3D look like in your drawings, these are really important. So take notice of them, and if you can afford it, like really buy one of these skulls, because if you have one of these miniature, it's really helpful. You just put a light on top of it and then you can see where, like, you can put the light source that you want to do on your drawing as a reference, and then you can use the cranium to see exactly where the shadows are projecting more or less in certain areas. So it's really handy for that. Sorry, du kannst weiter schlafen. And yeah, this is everything that we're going to cover about the skull. Now, the next steps that we are going to do is we're jumping on proportions. And this is a really exciting part, because then is where you actually put the features on top of the face, right? I mean, we're only indicating now proportions in line, but now we're jumping, I mean, we're just setting the guidelines to put the features on top, but we are not actually making the final drawing yet. We are going to simplify all this stuff that we learn into more simple shapes. So when you are trying to establish the perspective and the angle and the shapes of your head, you can jump directly on that with all this background knowledge in your head, and then you can use that as a model to make the final drawing, the final sketch, right? So let's jump into step 3, proportions. Now we're going to learn proportions. That means all the landmarks that you need to know to place the features of the face. And those are the line of the eyebrows, the line of the nose, the line of the eyes, the mouth, the ears, and hairline, more or less. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to point you those bony landmarks that we talked before. So here will be that place that I talk about of the eyebrow bone here. Then we have like the cheekbone, which is right on the side of the eye, like this, more or less. And then we have the nose the bridge of the nose. It goes like here. And this is something that I like to do. Like if you notice here, it's like an inverted triangle, right? In the eyebrows. And that helps me a lot when I'm placing the features of the face and all the stuff in the perspective that I want to do. Because once I have the middle line that separates the face in two, because faces are symmetrical, then I can just position that and I'll know exactly at what distance is like one eye in between the other and all the stuff. Like it's a little landmark that I really like using. Then we have the sphere of the mouth here, which you will not notice at first, but it is really important because it will give you the curvature of the lips and the mouth in general, right? So that's why I told you that it's important to have that one. And then we have the bone of the chin here, which is kind of a circle, right? So those are basically, I mean, and of course we have the big chin, the big forehead, but yeah. So those are basically the landmarks that you'll see all the time when you're drawing a face, when you're drawing a head, right? And that's only the frontal view. In the side view, we'll have more or less the same, but the most important will be the cheekbone, the jawline, of course, I forgot about this one. The profile view is more or less the same. You have like the jawline here, which is like the bony mark that you have. Then you have the chin, bridge of a nose here, and then that same circle for the eyebrows, which is catching light or shadow, depending on your light source. Then you have the forehead here, and then you have like the cheekbone here, more or less like that. And here you can see even more prominent, like how is the curvature of the teeth pronounced here in the lips and all the stuff. So yeah, pretty important when you're drawing the lips that you think about in spheres instead of just something put on top of the face, like a sticker put on top of the face. So yeah, those are the bony landmarks that we talked before. Now we are going to talk about the proportions of the face. As we said before, faces are symmetrical. So that means in the front view, everything that you have on the left side, you have in the same position, same proportion, same size on the other side of the face. So left equals right. So that's one of the first things that you want to do, is establish your center line vertically like this. And then we can start placing the horizontal landmarks. And for that, we can divide the face into three main parts, from hairline to chin, right? So it will be from here, let's do that quickly, from here until here, right? So let's make a straight line. And you can divide that into three parts, right? So three equal parts. And when we do that, roughly, you'll notice that those equal parts start from hairline to eyebrows, then eyebrows to end of the nose, and then from the nose to the chin. So this will be first part, this will be second part, and this will be third part. This is not 100% perfect, like not all the faces are equally divided like this. This is just a standard, and you'll see often in stylized drawings like caricatures, animation, all the stuff, that some people have like longer nose and small foreheads, or like the Joker, for example. Most of the time the Joker have like a giant jawline and giant mouth and all the stuff. Like you can change that to stylize your drawing or to portray someone that have special features like that, right? So it's a standard, it's not 100% like this, but it's really useful because most of the time it is like that. So then we are going to find more horizontal landmarks. For example, for the lips, we have, if you divide the third, if you divide it into half, you have like the lower lip. And then if you divide it again, more or less into half, you have like the circle of the chin. Now, if you divide this one into half, you have the upper lip. And the line in between those is the line of the lips. So you have the line of the lips here. Then you got a little bit down of the eyebrows is the eye line, more or less like that. Vertically, we have another landmark, which is the eyes will be the same side of the nose straws will be the position of the eyes on top of it, like this. And sometimes it's the same side of the eyes, meaning the distance between the eyes is the same size of a third eye, right? So we have this. And if we put this here, let's change the color. If we take this measurement here and we move it horizontally, we'll see it's more or less the same side of the nose, right? So yeah, basically the distance in between the eyes is one more eyes, and the nostrils, the side of the nose horizontally is the same size of the eyes most of the time. Once you have the eyes established, the lines for the eyes here, you can position the ears is more or less in the same size from the eyes to the nose, like this. So if you make a line from here and then you make a line from here to here, and then you put it on perspective, because this is not a full straight face. Remember, this is you're looking for above. If you do that, you'll get the same size from the bridge of the nose is more or less the line here. Like this size here is more or less the same eyelid line. So you can put the ears here on this side, right? So that's the other one. And this is basically all the lines that you need to do this type of stuff. In the front view, you'll see it's repeated through the rest of the things. So we're going to do the same for Asterion here. So we have hairline is more or less the same distance as nose and chin. Like as you see again, it's like 1/3, 1/3, 1/3, and 1/3. And then, as I was saying before, here in the profile view, you can see it even better. Like if you continue the line here, you'll land more or less in the position of the ears if you want to take it. This is a little bit too up, but again, that's explaining what I was saying. It's not 100% accurate, but it's an estimate for the standard proportions. And again, this is an elf, but yeah. So if you continue the lines there, you'll have like position the ears here. If you divide the distance from nose to chin, you get the lower lip. And if you divide that, you get in half, you get the chin bowl here. And if you divide that in half, you get the upper lip, and the half between these two is the middle of the mouth. So that's basically it. Then you have here the line of the eyebrows, line of the nose, and all the stuff. And then here you don't need to measure the size of the, like you cannot see the other eye, so you don't need to measure the distance in between the eyes. But for this one, this is enough. Like you get the three main divisions, then you have the less divisions, the small divisions here in the lower side of the nose, which is lip, chin, and all the stuff. And then you have the ears. And that's basically how you put all the proportions of the face on the face. So this one is a little bit more complicated because you have perspective, so the measurements are a little bit distorted, but it's more or less the same. You just have to take into account perspective, right? So you have the line of the, like if we make probably this should work. If you take 1/3, you divide this into 3 more or less equal lines, and then you get this and place it in the same perspective, you start getting more or less the same results, which is eyebrows here. Oh, sorry, I still have that selected, which is eyebrows here. Then you have nose, and then you have chin with the hairline. Sorry, I forgot the hairline. So yeah, as in this case, what you have to take in account is like this, since it's in perspective, like a from down to up perspective, then you should always have the one that is far away smaller than the second one, and the second one smaller than the third one, because the distances are getting smaller through the angle that you're seeing the head in this case. And if you see again, like if you continue this line here, you will end up landing in the ears like this. And if you continue the line of the nose, like in the same perspective, you end up lining more or less in the ears. Again, this one is not perfect, but it's a good estimator for that one, right? So then we have half of the here to here is the lower lip. Then we have more or less a little bit more than half, because of the perspective, will be the upper lip, then we have the middle lip here, then we have half of here is the chin, a little bit more than half, again because of the perspective. And here you can see the distance between the eyes and the nose. It's the same, like if you were going to draw the eye here, then you get this distance and this distance are the same. So distance between his eyes, it's more or less the same. And yeah, that'll be it for this one too. Like you can always place your proportions and facial features like this when you are trying to make your drawings. Then let's move to the next one. Hairline here is the third, this one is the third, and then another third here, the 3 divisions vertically. So that gives us eyebrows, then nose line, and then chin line. Now we divide it into half, and then we get the lower lip, then into half, and then we get the circle of the chin, then into half this one's here, and then we get the upper lip, and this one into half, and then we get the line of the lips, right? And again we divide this into 3, and that gives us the distance in between the eyes. And see, for example, in this case, the line that is going to the end of the eye, it doesn't fit the line of the nose, because for example in the Asian case they have like smaller eyelids, smaller eyes in general, so it doesn't fit that standard proportion, right? But it's more or less in the same space, so it's not 100% perfect, but it works. Then we have from the eyelids to the, like if we continue that line, we get the ears here, same here. We get more or less the end of the ear, maybe a little bit more. And that's it. That's the proportion that we are facing there. Let's do one more. So hairline, 1/3, second third, third, eyebrows here, line of the nose. If we continue the line of the eyes, then we get more or less the ears, same here, roughly. Then we have that, and then we got the distance between this end of the line and this one should be roughly the same. It's a little bit smaller because perspective again, we are not looking in front view, we're looking in the 3/4 up view. So the distance from left, the proportions from left to right should be a tiny little bit smaller than if we are looking it in front of us, like if we're looking perfectly from. So always when you're doing all the stuff, consider perspective, because it's going to change all the proportions for bigger to small, depending of the direction that you're looking at the portrait at. So that's it, that's basically proportions. Now what we're going to do is we're going to simplify that, because heads in general are really complex, and we need all this knowledge to be simplified in a way that we can start the drawing, to get rid of the fear of the blank canvas. So we need a method that simplifies all this stuff, and then we can start drawing on top of that later to add all the details and all the juicy stuff that we want to do when we are going to draw a head, right? So we're going to jump on top of that, and next subject will be the poly head, or the simplified method for drawing heads. Now we are already in the final step of the process, and what we're going to do now is we're going to study the low poly head. Like I said before, cranium, boxes, all that type of stuff, all those things are knowledge that you have to have in your head, in your brain, but you're not actually drawing it. You're just thinking about it when you're making the drawing, the actual drawing. But now I'm going to show you the tool that we're going to use for when we are drawing a head, and that is the poly head. So I'll just made it first, like I'll just draw it first on top of the picture so you see how it looks. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the same drawing on the left side so you can see how to apply the whole thing, right? And then we are putting, once I finish the drawing of the poly head, I'm going to make a sketch, a time lapse for you, so you see how I go on from that poly head to the end product, to the first sketch. And we are condensing all the knowledge here, proportions, where to put the features and all the stuff on top of the poly head. So let's begin. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to draw the straight line, which which is not straight in my case. We're going to draw this straight line here, dividing the face into two, and then we're going to make the hairline. So sphere, more or less, it doesn't have to be perfect. Okay, that's more or less the shape of the cranium. And now, what we're going to do is we're going to elongate this line here, and then we'll follow the jawline for this one. We draw the chin, the line of the eyebrows, like this, and then we do the folded paper. But in this case, we're modifying it a little bit because we're continuing this line through the cheekbones to the end, like this, and then we do the same stuff through the nose, like this. Now we do the draw of the eye lines. Now we draw the line of the eyes, and then we just have to do the same measurements that we did before through the nose. And for the nose, we're going to make a diamond, kind of a diamond shape. And a diamond works well because it will tell you in which perspective you're watching the object. We cut then these parts of ears, then we do this. This is like that's the line that I talked to you before. That is really important for you to define the side plan of the face. And I'm going to draw for you also. I'm going to make a colorful like part so you see all the parts that we just did here. So yeah, so this side of the blue here, all this blue side, that's our mask or folded paper plane. Then we have the diamond shape that we were talking about before, and then we have like forehead and you know all that plane of the hairline, all the stuff, like that'll be part of like fear and all the stuff. This is the other main shape that we need. And then we have the jawline, which is a result of continuing this line of the folded paper that we did before. And the end result of that, like after you do all these shapes, you end up with this shape here in the middle, which is where you put mouth and all the stuff. So, but actually we can color it with this same line, it's okay. We can color it with the same color, because it's the same, it's actually just the same shape. It's just a subtraction of the rest of the shapes that we end up there. So that's basically all the important stuff that you have to bear in mind when you're doing this. Like this will be our basic structure to put all the features and all the drawing, like the rest of the drawing there. And for the ears, which I forgot, you can just take the measurements of the eyebrows like we did before, and then more or less in the same line of the end of the nose, but again, this is in perspective, so it will be more or less like this. And then we have it, like that's the basic shape that we're going to use for drawing our heads. You can erase this like sphere line afterwards, because it's kind of distracting, but the rest of the theory is like we will actually do. And now on top of this, we can put the proportions, which is, if you see it here in the picture, it's the same, like eyes, distance between the eyes is the same of an eye. So we have like one eye here, then we have the line of the eyebrows, which is basically the eye socket, like this. And then we have just the lips line, and there you go. Like that's our mask, that's our structure for the face. So we're going to do always this first, then we draw the opacity of that, and then we draw on top of that. That's how you actually draw a head, right? So I'm going to do the same for you. I'm going to make a time lapse for you from the rest of the faces so you can see it. I'll stop to explain the profile view because the profile view is a little bit different, and 3/4 view is more or less a mixture of the profile view and the front view. So we'll take a look of those separately, but for this one I'm going to make a time lapse so you can see rapidly how that works at the end, right? So, and this is something else that you can do when you're starting to learn all this stuff. Take a reference and put it on your right side, and then try to measure the proportions of the face on your left side so it's a little bit easier for you before you jump into having the reference into somewhere else and then trying to draw it, because then you have to like adapt the pictures to the proportions of your canvas. It's a little bit more complicated. So for starters, take a reference on the right side, try to point all those landmarks like I did here, doing this, all this stuff, and then try to do the same on the left sides, and you'll see like you'll get a quicker grasp of all this stuff, and then you can jump into more difficult stuff later, right? So let's begin with the time lapse. So this is the first sketch that we did. And remember, the goal is not to copy the reference 100%, but just to take the essence of it every time. If you're trying to do photorealistic, you can always spend more time and adjust the proportions like to be 100% accurate as the reference you're taking, but that's not what we're doing today. So that's the front view. Now we're going to jump into the profile view and how to do the poly head for the profile view. And then I'll just play you the time lapse of how I do the profile view and the rest of the heads, because the principles are the same. You just have to turn it around into 3/4, upper angle, lower angle, whatever you need, but the shapes are the same. That's why we're learning this, right? Because it's the tool that will help you to draw any angle that you need. So for profile view, there's a trick that I do. I like to draw like the square of the skull that we did before. And then I drew like a straight line in this direction. Then I match the chin like we did before. Then we try to find the 3 measurements: hairline to nose to chin. And so that means we have to shorten the chin a little bit. And then you can just make like this division, the circle that we cut, you know, like I teach you from, it's like from that comes from the Loomis method and all the stuff, but it's the same. You just have to draw the second face of the box. And then from here, we are taking out that jawline. Maybe I'll do it a little bit shorter because I think I did it too long the first time. And now from here, we're just going to do the same stuff that we have been doing for the front view. So we make the line of the eyes right here, and then we have to do the folded paper. And the folded paper is following the eyes of the line of the eyebrows. Yeah, I did a little bit too angled, but yeah, no shame on that. It's like really hard to do stuff in the first try. So we have the folded paper here. We see a little bit more of the other eyebrow. Then we have to take out the bridge of the nose, the diamond shape that we talked before. So in this case, it's like pointing in this direction, and then we have like this, the shape of the lower part of the nose, and then we close the diamond like this. That'll be our second shape. Then we have, continuing with the cheekbone here, we have the line of we continue this line here, and then we just draw the arc of the forehead, and then that'll leave us with the shape of the skull. So folded paper, diamond shape, then we have automatically here already the cheekbone, not the cheekbone, sorry, the jawline here. And since we're looking down to this one, you can draw the lower part of the jawline here, which is inserted on it's kind of a triangle shape. If you're looking downwards, you make kind of like a triangle shape here, and you already get that shape. Then we draw the cylinder for the neck, and we're done, basically. So let's do it here first. Sphere, let's do more squarey, so we have like a good notion of the perspectives that we're drawing, which is profile view. And it will help us to do proportions like that. Then we got the straight line that I mentioned before, like this. Then we continue the line of the jawline, like that jawline here. Then we figure out the proportions, which is eyebrows here, hairline I'm guessing is more or less like here. Then we have nose, and then we have chin. Then we draw the folded paper following the shape of the eyebrow bone. then we continue to the nose, and then from here we can jump until the chin, and that will leave us with the end off of the mouth here, right? So from here we draw the diamond shape for the nose, and since we are looking down on it, we are going to see a little bit of the down plane of that diamond shape. And now we're going to draw like a sphere for the mouth, so we can properly draw the line in the middle. And so remember, from here to here we have the half, that's the lower lip, like this. Then for half here we have like the shape of the chin, and from there we just have the rest of the proportions like we have been doing the whole time. So that'll be our polyhair in profile view. It's more or less the same, you just have to change the perspective. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump to the time lapse. You already saw a little bit of the polyhead that I was drawing on the left side, but I continue to show you the final drawing, the final sketch based on the reference that I'm drawing here from Stereo, okay? So see you in a couple of minutes after I finish all the sketches that I want to do, and let's go right on to it. So that's it. That's the end of the final sketch. I'll make a quick pass so you can see the reference with the sketch that I made in the left side, one on the side of the other, so you can make a comparison. Again, this is not like 100% accurate, that I wasn't trying to make a photorealistic or trying to depict 100% accurate the picture in the sketch that I wanted to do, but just wanted to show you how everything works, right? And wanted to prove you that it works. So this is the first one. only line drawing for this one. This is the front view. We already talked about how you can build the poly head on top of this. And then we have the profile view from Asterion here. And I explained you in this one how it's the same principles. You just have to rotate the perspective in the profile view. And for this one, I'll say the only difference is you're making a straight line for the shape of the poly head at the beginning, and that will be the middle line of the face. You can always do that step first if you want to put things more easy for you. And for the 3/4 view, it's just a mix in between the profile view and the front view. Well, the thing I would argue is the more important stuff from 3/4 view will be the folded paper and this triangle shape that I show you in between the eyebrows, because it will basically establish all the perspective that you want to put in your drawing. Like this cheekbone eyebrow area is everything you need to know that you're drawing the sketch in the right angle. Just knowing that you're doing this, like drawing these lines here, it's already pointing you in which direction is the face looking at. Because if you combine that with the center line, you already have the angle. I already know that that's a 3/4 view. Like if you take out the sketches, you immediately notice that that's a 3/4 view. And if we draw the line for the cheeks, not the cheeks, for the chin with the jawline here, you start already seeing the angle, right? And that's why I arguably say that this shape here, the folded paper mask, is the most important thing in the poly head. So we did this one, then we jump into a more extreme perspective, and it's the same principle as we were talking before. It's just angle up, but it's basically the same. And again, if you just draw that mask here, it's already telling you all the information, almost all the information you need to put the features on top of that. Because when you do this hard shape thingy, and then you just draw the one of the cheekbones and the jawline, you can see, if we talk out the drawing with the middle line, sorry, it's already looking shape-like, poly shape-like. So pay a special attention to that one. That's really important one. And for the last one, we did this sketch, which I'm really happy with. And it's like everything that you see here is just glitzer. Everything that you see here is just glitz and glams, you know, it's just things that you put on the structure to make the drawing more pretty, more accurate, more stylized, you know. But the basic principle is the same. Like I wouldn't be able to go to these shadows and all these final details if I didn't have a good structure. If you try to do it in the reverse, it will not work and it will look messed up. Because imagine if I have all these pretty shadows here, and then if we move stuff around like this, like it's not in proportion, and the eyes are not in the right angle, and the shape of the head is not the same, you can see how wonky it is, even though the shadows and the ambient occlusion and all that pretty stuff is accurate, right? So basic structure is the most important thing, then comes everything else. So that's it. That's everything that I wanted to cover in this video. If you made it this far, I'm really grateful for you. And leave always questions in the comments if you want me to explain you something else that I didn't cover in this video, and suggestions of topics that you want to cover. I don't know for now if I want to jump directly into lights, or if I want to study body, like the whole structure of the body first. We'll see what comes in the next video. Maybe, I don't know if you would like to learn how to draw specifically some features of the face, and that's something that I actually have to study by myself. So I don't know, you tell me in the comments if you would like that to come into the next videos. But yeah, maybe I should study mouth, ears, nose and eyes like separately, and tackle those in like one specific topic. And make sure to comment below if you would like that to come to life here in my channel. Also in the description of the video I will leave links to the things that I use normally on my desk. And for those that are interested in my brush pack, I will also link those below. And yeah, that's it. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next journey.